Alright guys, welcome back to another directions video. We're just doing some notes again today. Yesterday we did the Stamp Act, and today we're looking at some more events, moving us forward here to the road to revolution here. So the last straw, Britain's continued actions led to the colonists to unite in rebellion. Alright, so the first event is 1770, so we're getting closer now to that year 1776. So the Boston Massacre. Boston citizens were angry at the sight of redcoat soldiers in the streets. A group of Boston civilians began insulting and throwing snowballs at the British guards on the street. More soldiers arrived to kind of help squash the situation, but that only escalated things as now the group of civilians kind of turned to a mob of civilians. We get that mob mentality. Surrounded soldiers in protest and the confusion and kind of the soldiers being scared. One of the soldiers fired their guns into the crowd and survived. 5 civilians ended up being killed in this whole event. All right. Following the Boston Massacre, and we'll spend a lot more time on the Boston Massacre, but that's just the basic story of it. Following the Boston Massacre, the Townshend Acts were repealed, except for the tax on tea. So one of the things that Britain tried to do to calm down the colonists here.
Can I have your attention, please? I need the following students to please report to the choir room at this time. Jordan Berthelsen.
All right, sorry about that, but we're back. So the Boston Massacre gets depicted a few different ways. Here is one example of it. Again, take a look at this picture here. This would be considered propaganda, and propaganda is information that is spread for the purpose of promoting some cause. So, for example, this one right here is obviously promoting the colonialist cause, showing that the redcoats, one of the guys here is even like smiling. It shows the crowd of people getting massacred, right? And it shows like it's all organized plot, okay? What was the cause reason for calling the shooting of 5 people in Boston a massacre by the English soldiers? Obviously helped spreading that narrative, right? A massacre probably isn't 5 people being killed, but the name fits and you tie in the pictures of it all, it really becomes like a powerful event, all right? Let's move ahead a few years here with 1772. Tomorrow we're going to spend a whole day talking about the Boston Massacre. So today it's just kind of getting the basics of it. So the Committees of Correspondence gets established in 1772. We've talked about them yesterday a little bit. It's just a network of connection for passing along news of British activity to the colonists, and it's another way for the colonists to spread information to each other. For example, if they're going to do a protest or they're going to do some type of action, and they want to make sure that it's the whole group or the entirety of the Sons and Daughters of Liberty, they would use the Committees of Correspondence to help organize and get the information to the right people there. It's organized by Samuel Adams of Massachusetts, who's kind of the leader of this whole thing early on. He's definitely the leader of the Sons and Daughters of Liberty in Boston, and we all know Boston is the heartbed or the headquarters of the rebellion. The Tea Act, so after the Boston Massacre, the colonists stayed calm. Britain repealed the Townshend Acts. They did keep the tax on tea, so it kind of changed from the Townshend Acts to the Tea Act. We talked about that in class. So Britain faced a new problem. The East India Company, the largest company in England, is hemorrhaging money. To help it recover, Parliament comes up with the Tea Act. All right, the company was not taxed to ship the tea to the colonies, but the colonies had to pay a tax to England for the tea. So it's kind of a twofer. Instead of England charging the company for the tax on shipping, they're just going to thus transfer that tax to the people who buy it. So kind of still making, the government's still going to make the same money, but the largest company in England gets a tax break, and they're going to put that tax break and just move it over to the colonists, and now the colonists have to pay. All right, so the colonists were angry that Parliament would give one company total control over trade. We talked about the monopoly yesterday. So now that this company is hemorrhaging money and they're the only one that can sell tea, they can basically put the price whenever they want. And obviously they're going to raise the price. So to help respond to this, the colonists performed the Boston Tea Party. All right, tea was actually made cheaper, but the law cut colonial businesses out of money-making opportunities. We'll talk about that. Allowed the East India Company to become a monopoly, becoming the colony's only source of tea. Naturally led to a boycott on tea, but it failed because tea back then is like coffee now, and a lot of people, They tried to give it up, but they could not, right? The colonists were just falling asleep left and right. They needed their tea to stay awake. Believed to be initiated by the Sons and Daughters of Liberty, kind of the organizers behind the Boston Tea Party. They're going to attack the ships. The Beaver, the Dartmouth, and the Eleanor are the 3 ships that are being attacked. We have to know these names. These names are famous in history. We have to know them. The Beaver, the Dartmouth, and the Eleanor. It inspired colonists to begin smuggling tea themselves. In 1773, the East India Company imported 555,000 pounds of tea. In the same year, the colonials and the colonists illegally smuggled over 900,000 pounds. So, like I said before, we are great at smuggling. It's what we do. Also, during the Boston Tea Party, we know that these group of men that performed it dressed up as Mohawk Indians to try to get the scent off their trail, but it didn't really work so well. And here's like more propaganda, people celebrating the throwing into the tea. Again, we got them dressed as Mohawk Indians, part of the Iroquois League, and so that's kind of where that all begins. All right. Chests of tea were shipped in. You can kind of see here the tea could be shipped in either bottles above or the bricks of hard-pressed tea called bricks. And again, it's not like there's like a packaging deal over them. This is just like solidified into a brick with no really covering over it. So once you kind of got it wet, it was basically game over. All right. Response to the Boston Tea Party. Colonists are split. Many are energized at the protest for giving voice to their frustration. However, a large minority is angry with the barbarian. Basically, they're not happy with the Sons of Liberty. They're making this small event is making everybody look bad. And I think a lot of people knew that Britain was going to respond, because the amount of money that was thrown in, or the amount of tea that was thrown into the river, or to Boston Harbor, I should say, was equivalent to like $4 million loss. So if you're losing $4 million in a day, you're going to have some type of repercussion or some actions getting turned back on you. So the die is now cast. The colonists must either submit or triumph. So it's going to be Britain kind of showing the strong arm here. Most Brits are now united against the colonies. What was viewed as a law, the Tea Act, to fairly tax the colonists and recoup the expenses of the war to defend the colonies was responded to horribly. All allies and those defending the colonies are appalled by this, leading to widespread resentment on the colonies. So if you were on the fence on this whole issue, the Boston Tea Party was going to actually push you towards joining the British point of view compared to the colonist point of view. The Americans have tarred and feathered your subjects, plundered your merchants, burnt your ships, denied all obedience to your laws and authority, yet so clement and so long forbearing as our conduct been, that is incumbent on us now to take a different course. Whatever may be the consequences, we must risk something. If we do not, all is over. Just basically showcasing this guy here, Lord North, the Prime Minister of England, basically the guy who's going to be sort of overseeing the colonies. He's basically just saying, like, it's go time now. We need to really ramp up our efforts here. So they introduced the Intolerable Acts of 1774. The Intolerable Acts is what the colonists called them, because obviously they were more taxes, and apparently they were not tolerated. So the Intolerable Acts. The British are determined once and for all to show the colonists that they are to be loyal, obey all parliamentary laws, otherwise to coerce the colonists into action. So these are also called the coercive acts, because they kind of they kind of poke the colonists until the colonists react, and then when the colonists react, Britain just, oh, I can't believe they're doing that. So it's kind of a deal here where the parliament is really egging on the colonists here. So here's what's going on. So Boston port is closed, severely limiting town meetings, which is like, a natural right by the colonists they felt. Called for all trials to take place in Britain or Canada. So basically you would no longer have a jury trial by your peers. You would get a jury trial in like Quebec, or you'd be shipped across the Atlantic Ocean and have a jury trial in Britain, where you were most likely going to be found guilty. And again, we have forced colonists to allow soldiers to live in their homes. This is going along with the Quartering Act from yesterday. Also formally charges several men with high crimes and treason, including John Hancock and Samuel Adams. So these people are kind of on the run or on the lam now. And again, John Hancock, both these guys signed the Declaration of Independence later on. which leads to the first Continental Congress. The foundation of this was laid down with the Committee of Correspondence. Sons of Liberty had set up a committee in which each colony made up of anti-British leaders. Paul Revere's first ride was through the colonies to personally invite everyone to a meeting to plan a unified response to Britain. What does it sound like? It sounds like we're gonna become united and actually have a united front. Everyone's on the same plan. Everyone's pushing or pulling on the same rope, moving towards kind of a rebellion here. So it seems like we're getting organized. Okay, we're getting the leaders together. We're making plans now on what to do next. All right. So what did they do at the first Continental Congress? Well, members were elected, just as our Congress is now. A unified boycott was approved throughout all the colonies of British goods. That's what we always do. We always boycott. Almost all trade with Britain was ended. In fact, 98% of trade. So this boycott was obviously the most effective. It was probably because there's more planning involved and all the colonies were willing to work together. Colonists were given power to observe and enforce the laws that the FCC passed to ensure true unity and consistency. Also established a second Continental Congress to meet 1 year later to basically reevaluate the strategy and see how things are going. So 1 year from now, we're going to have a second one, and the second one is just going to be kind of analyzing and checking in on the original plan. All right, and that's kind of where we'll stop for today. Just Boston Massacre, Boston Tea Party. We're talking a lot about that tomorrow, so we kind of sort of glanced over it today, but that's all right. We get the first Continental Congress working together, the Committee of Correspondence working together. So right now it's just the colonies. Some bad things are happening. The colonists are upset, but now they're starting to really take it seriously, this planning and working together and having everyone on the same page moving forward. So today is kind of like the storm's brewing, right? And then tomorrow we'll do notes on the Boston Massacre and Boston Tea Party, or not notes, documents I should say. And then when we get back together on Thursday, we'll get to the shot heard around the world and the actual kind of beginning of this whole thing. All right, people, have a good day. Hopefully the notes made sense. Watch the Crash Course Ed puzzle from yesterday if you haven't. It'll help make a lot more sense of some of this stuff if you're not all the way up to par. But besides that, have a great day, guys, and I'll talk to you later.